All right, welcome to the masterclass on the slider. We're going to cover how do you classify a slider, how it spins, what makes it different from other pitches, how to use it, and then towards the end we're going to talk about how to throw it. So what is a slider? So typically people think of a curveball as a pitch that goes down like that, and a slider is a pitch that goes sideways, but there's really a lot more nuance because if you want to be technical with how we classify pitches today, a curveball is going to have high spin efficiency, meaning most of the spin contributes to the movement of the pitch going down like that. And the spin efficiency is usually 60 to 100%, whereas a pitch that moves sideways like this is actually now considered a sweeper. So that's a pitch that uses the Magnus effect with the sideways spin. It's going to have a decently high spin efficiency, not 100% usually, but decently high. And it's also going to use the seam shifted wake phenomenon. So to give you more context, a slider in the major leagues moves on average only 7 inches horizontally, where a sweeper on average will move 15 inches horizontally. So then is a slider not as good as a sweeper or a curveball since it doesn't move as much? Not at all, because the less movement is actually deliberate. You don't always want pitches to move as much as they possibly can because speed is also very important for a breaking pitch or an off-speed pitch to be effective, as well as late movement. So when you throw a slider, it has a lot more gyro spin. So gyro spin, also known as bullet spin right here, this is going to contribute zero to any movement. It's not going to contribute to, rise or any horizontal movement. But the nice thing about this is that it actually, perception for the hitter is that it's kind of going down and sliding this way. Because remember, a hitter is expecting or thinking about the fastball kind of moving there like that, up and into a righty if you're a right-handed pitcher. So if it goes here, gyro, the hitter thinks it's basically sliding or it's dropping. And so it can still be effective as a change from your fastball. And a lot of guys, that's easier to throw it hard and just kind of get on the side of it. But sliders, a lot of times will have just pure gyro or, as much as like 30% spin efficiency, meaning it's kind of, right here, not pure gyro, but still mostly gyro. And that's, for example, how Rapsodo classifies a slider as 0 to 30% spin efficiency. So that's why when you hear people say he throws a gyro slider, that's what they mean. It doesn't have spin-induced movement. It's just gyroing right there, but it can still be super effective. And then you can have a sweeper in addition to your slider. You can have a good 12-6 curveball or whatever, a slurve, something like that. So how do we throw the slider? So for me, what I did, and everyone's going to be a little bit different. We'll talk about some different concepts with it. I learned my curveball first, fully supinated pitch right here, and this finger was off of the ball. Some guys will spike it. Then for my slider, all I did was put this finger on right there, and I would throw it pretty much the same. And just doing that would change the spin axis from more 12-6 to more right here, and it would increase the velocity almost 10 miles an hour, like 7 or 8 miles an hour, by putting this finger on it right here. And it was actually nastier than my curveball because it was harder. And one thing people don't realize is that the speed on your off-speed pitches is super important. You want to be able to throw them hard, and that doesn't mean you don't also want to have a slower curveball in your offering as well, but you do want to have faster, late breaking, late moving off-speed pitches. So that's what I did for mine. And then I found that I could get, half supinated to get less break, sharper movement. I found later on that if I threw it and was a little bit looser with my grip and my wrist, the ball would come out earlier and I would get more side spin right there, and that would make it more sweeper action. And then I have a video called, the sweepy slider, because a lot of times when you're learning these pitches, you're manipulating the spin and it's hard to say, oh, was that a sweeper? Was that a slider? You're maybe throwing a slider that's more gyro, then you throw a slider that's, got more horizontal. And nothing wrong with being able to manipulate that, but at some point, if you have a pitch that has a ton of horizontal and a pitch that's just harder right there, late break, then you would classify a sweeper slider. But as you're learning it, you can work on manipulating it differently. So you could throw it just like that. Okay, that's like a slider that's going to have a little bit higher spin efficiency, kind of like a hard curve. Maybe you could go a little bit more open and get less supination. That will affect it a lot. You can work on just throwing it and then just kind of like feeling like you're pulling down right there, and then just getting a lot of gyro spin on the ball. Remember, for everybody, it's going to be different because some guys naturally supinate easily, some guys naturally pronate, some guys are neutral. So these are different considerations. As far as grip, I gripped my curve and slider the same way. Some guys will go the opposite, and that could be really recommended so you don't get the pitches to blend together too much. And some guys will just throw it there. It's not super important. The grip, as far as the movement, it's really about finding something that's comfortable. I like to feel the seams on my thumb and on my middle finger for my breaking pitches so I can feel like I'm really gripping it well. When you're grabbing the two seam here, that can be an advantage. That's how you throw a sweeper, because you get the seam shifted wake effect a little bit more. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Put them down in the comments, and I'll try to make more videos on that and try to answer your questions. And if you're getting value from these videos, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.